there's some authority to coaches, and you listen to coaches. Yeah. And so doctors and everyone else, these are trusted people in our field that are authority. That why would I question what the doctor says? Because I didn't go to school.
Mm-hmm. And that's the tough thing. That is the very, very tough thing, because we are told to trust those who are in a position of power like this. Yeah. Whether or not it's a coach or power over your medical decisions.
And I think just how much we hear in just culture about like, how intense it is to become a doctor and stuff like that. Like even more so, it's just like, well, how am I going to disagree with that after all that time? Like,
Yeah, but exactly. So the idea behind what we did with her was to take her through a movement-based diagnostic process. So whenever someone in the medical community looks at pain, they try to classify the injury based on what's called a pathoanatomical system. So they will say that you have a bulging disc, a herniated disc, a facet joint arthritis buildup. Basically, what the tissue within the body that they believe to be problematic in causing the symptoms, that is their diagnosis. Now, the problem with that, like we mentioned, is that there's a lot of research that shows that there's plenty of healthy people who have bulging discs yet have no pain. So how can I tell someone with 100% certainty that their bulging disc is their cause of pain?
Right, without imaging.
Without imaging. Now, in saying that, I'm not saying a disc bulge can't cause pain. For sure it can. Mm-hmm. But it also doesn't tell us what is the best mode of treatment for that person. No. Because you may have 4 different people with bulging discs, and they may respond to 4 different methods of treatment.
All I know is it seems whatever you can do to avoid fusion or getting your disc trimmed seems to be better.
The tough thing with that, and there's times where back surgeries are appropriate.
Of course there are.
The tough thing with a lot of surgeries is that first off, they're not needed, because you could have gone through appropriate physical therapy, and got back to 100%.
But Aaron, that's hard. And it takes a lot of time.
It takes work.
I would like to be fixed now.
Very true. And hence that is the American way, right? So the movement-based diagnostic system is the way in which most physical therapists should approach the body. That's sort of our professional identity. And this is something that, like, people that have come before me, I always tell people, I'm only, what is the line? A dwarf that is sitting on the shoulders of giants who have come before me. So I'm talking about,
of course,
Kelly Starrett is that giant for me. Dr. Stuart McGill, Shirley Sarman, who's from St. Louis, over at WashU. These people have come up with the idea of a movement-based diagnostic system. So here's how it works with the back, is you would come to me and I would do a number of different tests and measures, basically to understand if I could fit your symptoms into a way to tease out specific motions, postures, and loads that can trigger your pain. So for someone that has a bulging disc, instead of saying you have a bulging disc and that's your diagnosis, I would say maybe that person is flexion intolerant. Okay. Meaning when they bend their spine,
right? We can figure out which exact part is pissing it off.
Exactly. Or maybe someone has extension intolerance. So when they arch their back, get that big proud chest.
Yeah. So like the bulge would be on the inside.
Exactly. It could be an end plate fracture. Maybe someone that, for example, Brian Carroll, right? Just recently squatted 1,306 pounds. Crazy.
He's back in gear doing stuff. Jesus, man. Good for him.
But 1,306 pounds. That's freaking crazy. It's all-time world record in
it's very crazy. So like he was doing geared powerlifting whenever I was doing geared powerlifting, which was before I did Highland Games. Mm-hmm. And he's still doing it, which is gnarly because that now feels like a really, really long time ago for me.
So in his back injury that he was able to work exclusively with Dr. McGill on, he also had a small fracture, an end plate fracture, which is almost like if you were to think about like a leather drum, sort of like this, the leather that's stretched across the drum barrel. That's sort of what your end plate is. It's a small cartilage sort of.
So that's like the end of each vertebrae.
Exactly. Okay. And it allows a lot of blood and nutrients to go between the disc and the bone, because the bone isn't just solid. There's actually this network of what's called trabecular bone. It's almost like struts
that fill a building.
Yeah, and when a end plate fracture happens, it actually is at the specific drum leather.
Got it.
Into the trabecular bone if it's bad enough. That usually leads someone to be load intolerant, meaning even if they're lifting with pristine form,
it's just a compression of the spine's the problem because the drum head's busted.
Exactly.
So like